Hello, everyone, to the honorable, very distinguished, very accomplished, very able and benevolent speaker, to our very enthusiastic, very supportive, and very active participants, the Team IGP. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to each and everyone. Welcome to the Institute of Global Professionals free webinar. Thank you all again for all joining with us in this wonderful and marvelous evening. Please stay with us till the end. I am your host for today's webinar and at your service. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Team IGP to be associated as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It is my delight to welcome you all, dear participants, to the Institute of Global Professionals free webinar. It is my delight to, it is my humble request to all of you to stay with us till the end, for I am sure you will have many takeaways from this webinar that you can use in your professional and everyday life. Each time, you can like and comment in the comment box section below. Don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friends and community in the comment section. So let's watch together and learn together because we believe that power is gained by sharing knowledge. Now, every day, some new participants join with us. So let me give a little background about Institute of Global Professionals. The Institute of Global Professionals is an educational institution that provides social work. It serves students and community, providing holistic social work and education to create a proficient generation. IGP is a leading online skills development with thousands of learners worldwide. Institute of Global Professionals was entrusted with international recognition. We believe that it is not effective to increase one's skills just by acquiring formal education. So we provide effective training and consultation to generate proficient generation all over the world. We organize our webinar training offline and online courses by best and trainee speakers, coaches from all over the world to create a best learning platform for all of you. Our mission is to empower people. We have already completed 313 webinars successfully. We expect that you all are getting a little bit benefited in professional and personal lives. And we wish that you all are remaining with us in this long journey. Let me remind you again, please don't forget to share, tag, and mention your friends and community in the comment section below because your attachments encourages us to do better and best service to all of you. Today, we are presenting the 314th webinar with the title Mastery in Public Speaking. Okay, so let us start our program with IGP mantra, Feed Your Skills. Let me give you a little background, not just a little, sorry for that, because our speaker for tonight is very distinguished and very accomplished. Mr. Ferouz Akbarov from Uzbekistan is a native of Uzbekistan who did his Bachelor of Arts in English Philology from Samarkand State Institute of Foreign Languages. He furthered his studies by winning a state-funded scholarship for pursuing a 2-year master's course at the University of Pune, India. He has been a winner of multiple awards, both domestically and internationally. Take note of that, dear guys. One of his most remarkable achievements was in China when he was awarded the Best Tissot Teacher Award of the year 2014. I told you he was very distinguished and accomplished person. Mr. Feruzak Barub is also a philanthropist by nature, so he has committed himself to volunteering, public engagement, both at home and abroad, physically and remotely. There are several projects to his name, such as TED Master, Virtual Speaking Club, 20-minute talk with the founder, Zoom workshop for ESL teachers, and others. Very accomplished indeed. Okay, he has become an international ESL, EFL instructor due to his extensive teachings abroad and his international teacher qualification. He is one of the fewest English teacher from Uzbekistan with international C2 level. Mr. Firuz Akbarov has been the most celebrated international model United Nations, take note of that, participant from Uzbekistan with 7 awards. How was that, dear participants? Since 2020, he has firmly established his online presence across various international platforms as a successful international public speaker. He is the founder of a newly established ETA Uzbekistan, or what we call the English Teachers Association. His motto in life is take the first step. Dear participants, help me. Let us all welcome our very accomplished speaker for tonight, Mr. Feruz Akbarov from Uzbekistan. Welcome, Sir Feruz.
Thank you very much for a scintillating introduction of IGP and myself. Hello, world. Warm greetings to all of you watching us across different time zones in different countries. I am Firuz Akbarov, coming to you live all the way from Uzbekistan, already for the third time on IGP. Thank you. And now I'll proceed to share my presentation with you. All right, is that visible? Perfect.
Yes,
So
sir.
thank you. Today I'll be engaging with you on a topic, mastering public speaking. But before I continue, I'd like to commend IGP for what it has done for the past couple of years as a truly international educational platform. My journey with IGP has been quite exhilarating. I was one of you, one of the super active participants. You could see my name and comments in the chat box very often. But then I went on to become one of the speakers of IGP twice, and today already thrice. And later on, I became one of the global partners of IGP. And today I'm representing a newly established English Teachers Association, or shortly known as ETA Uzbekistan, as the founder. So I'd like to take this moment to give a kudos to the founder and chairman of IGP, Mr. Kaushik Datta, for inviting me over and for trusting me. Thank you very much. So it's still start of the year, so most of you might be still in a new year mood. I have a congratulatory message on behalf of ETA Uzbekistan Association as the founder. So accept my warm greetings and congratulations. Take a listen. As the world prepares to usher in New Year, it's time to finally kiss goodbye to the passing year and ring in the new year. It's been a memorable year. We start a journey, a global journey, ETA Uzbekistan People's Association. 2022 is going to be promising for all of us because we're going to organize lots of events for you. ETA Uzbekistan, for the people, by the people. By the way, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, my dear friends. Now I'll continue, and I have an uncanny introduction. I'll continue the introduction in a quite traditional way. So I have an activity embedded in introduction. Let's check it out. As was mentioned by the moderator, I'm the founder of a newly established association. So, and then I'm a full-time English teacher. That's my day job. I'm a vlogger. I create and make lots of professional videos, and I have a YouTube channel. Out of curiosity, you can check out all my English videos at the end of the presentation on my YouTube channel. Like I was mentioned, I'm a volunteer who actively engages with public and does lots of things for absolutely free of charge as a volunteer. I'm a trainer. I conduct lots of webinars, workshops, trainings, and seminars, which is what I'm doing today. I'm an event organizer. In the past, I organized a lot of avant-garde events, and many more events are to come in the coming days. Further on, I'm a skydiver. I love extreme sports. I went skydiving 8 years ago in Czech Republic. I'm a jogger. By nature, I love jogging, and I'm so good at it. I'm a content creator. I create content both online and in person. I'm an admin of a large Facebook group. I'm a globetrotter. I travel extensively, and I travel to about 30 countries in the world, and I'll try to explore and discover many more in the future. And finally, what I'm going to talk about with you today is I'm a public speaker. Since 2020, since the outbreak of global pandemic, I went on to establish my firm presence virtually, and I was called numerous times to a number of international platforms as a keynote speaker. And why am I showing you this? My first sideline tip to all of you, my dear friends, those who are watching me today, if you want to become a public speaker, you should have a rich global experience, because you're going to face public that come from all walks of life. And make sure, if you don't have a rich life experience, it would be very challenging for you to face public of all kind. Now let's proceed. I'll continue with a quote from Michelle Obama. So she said, success isn't about how much money you make, it's about a difference you make in people's lives. My fellow friends, if you want to become a public speaker or just master your public speaking skills, you have the power to make a difference in people's lives for which you may be remembered for good. I could give you a very good example. You might be a billionaire, but still gone without any, remembrance. But you could be a modest person with eloquent public speaking skills and thus make a difference in people's lives. So that is another takeaway for you. Now let's proceed further. Here is how the outline looks. In today's presentation, I'm going to warm you up to the topic through the build-up, and then I'll proceed to the Aristotle's 5 principles, the rhetorical devices laid down by none other than Aristotle 2,000 years ago that are still in effect. And finally, I'll wrap up my presentation with my life experience that I try to put into the practical tips on how to master your public speaking skills. So far, is that all clear? Please put it in the chat box. Yes, a big yes. Let me check out a chat box. Put a big yes. Is that all clear? Yes. Now, I will check out the chat box. Okay, so it's a bit slow there. Yeah, is that all clear? Yes. Okay, Donna Hans Saidova. Yes. Okay, Anna Mary Joy Alcanza. Yes. Carmela Jen. Yes. Okay, Shang Queen. Yes. Perfect. Indira says yes. You keep saying yes, and I keep moving on. Thank you. Okay, I'll start with the good news. The good news, if you want to master your public speaking skills, my fellow friends, you do not need any PhD degree, because it is not connected with your academic degrees or titles. You don't need a diploma either, because, that is a tricky thing. There are a lot of PhD people with a PhD degree or diplomas, but still they could be speechless once they are, confronted with a public, especially a large number of public. And another good news is you don't have to be a professor, because back in the time, I used to have a lot of professors who were not able to dazzle me as a speaker. I thought to myself, Do I really need to go on to become a professor in order to dazzle my audience as a speaker? My answer was not really. And last good news is age doesn't matter. You see, you could be a motivational speaker as young as a teenager or as old as an elderly man. And I can reveal a secret. I'm one of the keen participants and followers of IGP webinars, and I have noticed a couple of youngsters who have a promising future. I saw some teenage speakers. So that speaks for itself. Age does not matter at all. So there has been a constant battle going on between a talent and a skill. Some people argue that public speaking skills might be a talent which is naturally gifted by birth or just passed on through your forefathers' parental genes. But others, however, argue that it is a skill that could be learned by practice. So here I pose for a moment to raise $1 million question. What is public speaking skill? Is that a talent or a skill? So you could put it in the chat box. You could keep, discussing with each other. And during the Q&A session, you are free to pose this question again, but I'll try to cover the answer throughout my presentation. Let's keep going. So like I said, I'm going to warm you up. Here are some of the examples of my past public speaking experiences, both nationally and internationally. And this is quite a recent event where I attended a workshop. I facilitated a workshop at my alma mater. As was mentioned by the moderator, I am the graduate of Samarkand State Institute of Foreign Languages. So this was more like a payback time. I went back to my university to, enlighten and inspire the youth, the youngsters, with my public speaking skills. Some more examples of public speaking skills in different parts of Uzbekistan, Tashkent, Bukhara, and some other regions. Now let's proceed to the topic, mastery in public speaking. Okay, now I'm sure you're able to see those good-looking faces of motivational speakers, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, Malala Yousafzai, Barack Obama, and some more here, Steve Jobs, Denzel Washington, Tony Robbins, Nick Vujicic. Now, I want you to put in the chat box, who is your favorite motivational speaker? It doesn't have to be these people. You could just, choose anyone locally, regionally, nationally, internationally, it doesn't matter. These are just an example. So please put it in the chat box. Who is your favorite motivational speaker? I'm sure you might have watched lots of YouTube videos and you have some people that you really admire and look up to. So could you please, Donohan says Malala. Okay, we got the first answer. I love those motivational speakers you have shown. Wow, great. You love all of them. Yes, Les Brown says Manoj Kumar. Okay, Charles says Jason Law. Indira says Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, Zuhra says Nick Vujicic, Jack Ma. Okay, any more? Yeah, it's being very engaging. I love it. Okay, right. So any more motivational speakers? Jason Lowe, again, the same answer. Stephen Covey, right, perfect. Okay, yeah, perfect. Let's keep going. You can keep continuing putting in your answers in the chat box. Okay, remember I gave you the first sideline note saying that if you want to go on to become a public speaker, you need to have a lavish life experience, a rich life experience, because you're going to face people of, all kind. And I want to provide two more sideline tips before I move on to the essence of the presentation. You need two more things besides rich life experience. The first thing is the mental toughness, and the second one is passion. Now, let me talk a little bit about a passion. IGP has already successfully conducted more than 300 webinars. And I'm sure you have watched most of them, or perhaps all of them, and you have your favorite speakers on IGP. And, I'm one of those keen followers. And I also saw lots of speakers saying, you need to do what you love, or you need to love what you do. This is one of the building blocks of doing anything, not just being a public speaker, but, doing anything. You want to become an engineer, an IT specialist, a cook, or anyone, you just name it. You have to, love what you do. You need to have a passion. So I'll not just go on to elaborate. I'll focus more on the mental toughness and what is meant by mental toughness. You know, um, you might have, experience being a presenter at your school, offline, online, and sometimes if there's a bad luck, there is a chance that you might get booed by the audience, either online or offline. Or if it's a offline event, when worst comes to worst, you may even get thrown tomatoes and eggs. Some politicians have experienced that, and or sometimes, especially if you're doing a webinar on an international platform or just virtually, there might be some fake users, with fake identity. They might be throwing some harsh and nasty comments on you. And I know some speakers may get affected or even intimidated, but by just looking at what's going on in the chat box, I know some people can be sensitive. Or yeah, you should get ready for any kind of circumstances and situations, and for that you have to improve your mental strength. So that's what the mental toughness is all about. If you are mentally tough, and if you got the passion, and if you have a rich life experience, now uh, there is a green light for you. You could go on to captivate your audience. But now I'll just try to pause the second time briefly and raise another question. How to captivate your audience? So, could you please put it in the chat box? If you were a public speaker, how would you captivate your audience? Now, let me turn it to the chat box. I'm constantly keeping an eye on the chat box. I have another gadget simultaneously. So I'd be glad to check out some of your engaging comments. If you were the public speaker, how would you captivate? Build rapport. Thank you, Nico Dan Esmiro. Build rapport. Perfect. Especially in an offline. Well, in an offline, in an online session, it might be a little challenging to build a rapport, but still, that's a very good point. Loud voice. Perfect, Charles. Thank you. Donohan, more interaction. Manoj Kumar, puzzle. Maybe you can just, pop up any question, right, and let them guess or just interact for a while. Just like an icebreaker. Be confident. Perfect. Yes. Okay, let's keep going. In order to captivate your audience, it is not just like, a skydiving experience. It is not as challenging as skydiving. That was me, some years ago, going on skydiving, jumping out of the airplane 4,000 at and 4,000 altitude. That could be quite spooky and frightening experience, but public speaking is not as spooky as it may seem. Especially, some people may have a fear of heights, but a fear of stage can be overcome a lot easier than the fear of heights. Trust me, you got my words. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I'd like to move on to the essence of my presentation. And I'd like to provide you with a bit of background information in the history of public speaking, as it dates back to the ancient Athens. And about 2,500 years ago, people already started pondering over public speaking skills. Back then, people who were eloquent, who had impressive public speaking skills, were admired by the mob, by the crowds of people. So they were really looked up as idols. And here are two prominent examples. One is Cicero from ancient Rome, and the other is Demosthenes from ancient Athens. Okay, now I'm going to show you 5 rhetorical devices laid down by Aristotle himself about 2,000 years ago. And still, surprisingly and shockingly, those 5 principles are still well in effect. Now let's check it out one by one. First, according to Aristotle, a public speaker, a powerful, impactful, influential public speaker, should have something called ethos. And what is an ethos? Ethos is a character. Okay, let me put it in this way. If you want to, do a webinar on mastery in public speaking, but you have no experience of public speaking in the past, so it would be very much challenging for you to, convince your audience in what you're talking about, because you don't have your story, your, past story, background story that you could build on as a character. So if you do have that character, you have the chance to make believe your audience and buy your story. So this is what meant by ethos. As speaker should have a character. As speaker cannot be, influential as long as she possesses the character, or what the speaker is talking about. If the speaker is talking about, some kind of scientific discovery, breakthrough, the speaker should have a relevant experience in that respective field. And the next principle is mentioned as logos, which means a reason. So what did Aristotle mean by reason? As a speaker, you need to have a reason so that, your listeners, your audience should care for what you're talking about. You should provide them with a reason why your presentation is so, sharp and actual. Why do they have to listen to you? And what are the takeaways? And how, in what ways they are going to benefit from your presentation? That is what meant by logos. And now let's go on to the third principle, which is my favorite, pathos. And Aristotle meant by pathos, emotion. As a speaker, you need to really touch on the senses of your audience. And if you're unable, or if you're incapable of doing that, you are not going to succeed as a speaker, because all of those motivational speakers, you love listening over and over just because those speeches and talks really, really touch the crux of yours, really shake you to the core, and you can feel, you can build an emotional connection with what the speaker is talking about. And that is what is meant by emotion. And you know that most of those motivational speeches are always emotional. And next principle is metaphor. And one of the most successful men of all our times is Warren Buffett. And Warren Buffett is one of the people who uses lots of metaphors in his speeches. Now, let me provide you with an exciting metaphor. Now, in this picture, you can see a man climbing up the mountain. So, climbing up the mountain gets more and more challenging as you go further and further. But hey, wait, make no mistake. There is, the silver lining that the higher you climb up, the prettier and more better the view gets, isn't it? So it's just like the public speaking. If you're going to face more and more challenging and the larger group of people, you're going to get lots of experience under your belt. You will be more experienced and skilled than ever before, that you could go on to face any kind of people in any amounts and quantities, just because you are super confident and seasoned. And the last principle by Aristotle was brevity. So what is brevity? It is shortness and preciseness. It is not a rocket science that the art of persuasion is all about, less is more. You don't have to talk a lot. You can just impress with a very little you have. And it all comes to the way of the delivery. So the brevity is the last principle laid down by Aristotle. Now, ladies and gentlemen, over to my tips. The tips that are going to empower you for sure, either immediately or in the foreseeable future. So let me pause for a while and turn to the chat box, and let me ask you a question. Are you ready for my tips? Put it yes or no. Are you ready for my tips? The tips that are ready to empower and inspire you. Yeah, we have another interactive question going on with the audience. Okay. Yes. Mercado says yes. Perfect. Ready. Farila says yes. Ready for the tips. Big yes from Donahan Saidova. Merevich says yes. And says yes. Perfect. Without further ado, I won't keep you hanging there for too long. Let's move on straight to the first tip. Okay, here I got an interactive task for you. Ladies and gentlemen, for a second, imagine that you are the kings and queens, and that is your throne. You're sitting on a throne as a king or the queen of any nation in the past, and you have to just make one statement to your people. And what statement would that be? Could you please kindly put it in the chat box? You are the king or a queen and sitting on that throne. So could you please put one statement in the chat box? You have to address your people. Just put it one short statement. What would be your statement like? Okay. So there are some answers to the different question. Keep coming in. Okay. Yes. What would be your statement? Just put one short statement. Be happy. Okay. Donohan says, be happy. Listen. Okay. Yeah. Nico Dan Mirror sounds more like a king. Listen to me. Right. Okay. Anything else? Always help who needs you. Great, Farila. Stay motivated, says Charles. Okay. Maria says, hello, my people. Okay. Charles says, be positive at all times. Spread love and peace. I love that. And partida. Right. Go for it. Okay. Together we can achieve more. Perfect. Ida Ramirez. Okay. Thank you. So you are the kings and queens for a few seconds. I hope you like that interaction with me. And now my first tip is audience is the king. In fact, if you want to go on to become a public speaker, you are not the kings and queens, but the people who are going to listen to your speeches are the true kings and queens. And recently, I discovered new findings. There is an amazing parallel between a public speaker and a teacher. And what is that connection? Let's check it out together. I'm sure there are a lot of teachers watching us tonight, so they are familiar with a term called effective humanistic approach. So, what is that? This is an approach that focuses on the value of human beings in a society and culture. And this approach puts an emphasis on how valuable students are and they should be loved equally. And now let's transfer those concepts into public speaking. As a public speaker, you are the teacher and your students are the audience. This is exactly what you're supposed to be doing. You need to treat your audience well. Another linguistic term, positive reinforcement. I'm sure all of those keen followers are familiar with this term. It's like you encourage your students using words like awesome, well done, fabulous, fantastic, great, right? So why not do the same with your audience, be it online or offline? Okay, now you can see me, but I cannot see you. I can just see your profile pictures and the comments, but still there is a kind of a connection between us. Still I can encourage you or give you some pep talk or try to positively encourage you, saying, okay, audience, you've been doing great job, you've been interacting well, thank you. It's still virtually possible to encourage your audience. Perfect. Okay, now let's keep going. You need to know your audience because your audience is the kings and queens. Now, we have another interactive task. Behind those speech bubbles, I hid some words, the words that are related to your audience, some, snippets of information. Could you please kindly put it in the chat box? What kind of information you would like to know if you were the speaker about your audience? Let me open the first one. It is the age. Okay. So if you were to go on to become a public speaker, if you want to consider some information about the audience, who you're going to face, you need to first take into account the age factor, the age of your audience. Are they teenagers or, young adults or middle-aged or kids, high schoolers, so etc. Okay? So can you hear me? Hello? Am I
Here,
audible?
sir.
Okay, perfect. So, because my internet, it seemed like my internet froze for a while. Okay, thank you. So, professional, right? Qualification, perfect. I kept checking out the responses. Age group says okay. Zuhra says profession. Okay, perfect. What else? The interest, perfect. The interest, number of audience. Yeah, perfect. Number of audience. Gender, why not? Yes. Farila says, yeah, thank you, Farila. Okay, age group and their interest. Okay. Nationality, says Donohon. Okay, the answers keep coming in. Perfect. Okay, thank you. Now let me reveal the other speech bubbles and let's check out some more information about your audience. Okay, interest, right. There was this kind of answer, right? Interest. Culture. Yeah. Are you going to face, let's say, a group of Southeast Asian people, or are you going to face people from other continents? Are you going to face a group of Russian audience, or are you going to face Americans? So that may differ. Another one is education. Are you going to face, let's say, high schoolers or educated people, like the people who are past their young adult age? Are you going to face a group of people who are uneducated in the remote parts of the globe? Another bit of information is about psychology. I believe the best speakers are the psychologists because they can know the psychological aspect of the audience, and they can work well on that aspect. And also you can know about the aims, like what brings those people to your sessions, to your webinars or seminars, workshops. Are they interested in your personality, or are they interested in what you're going to give as a content, or do they just admire you as who you are as a speaker, as a specialist? So the aims. And last but not least, the attention span. So it's really important to know about the attention span of your audience. If you're going to face youngsters or the kids, they have relatively smaller or shorter attention span. So you shouldn't bore their mind. You shouldn't bore their attention. But if you're going to face young adults or a bit older people, then you can, go on, continue your session for an hour or even longer. So that depends on the attention span. Ladies and gentlemen, these are some of the pieces of background information you could get to know or predict about your audience in advance, beforehand. But I believe there could be some other bits of information that you could, happily take into account. And what happens if you don't know anything about your audience? The chances are that your audience will be dozed off, they will be disconnected, and they will not be with you throughout the presentation, right from the start up until the end. And with that in mind, let's proceed to my second tip. I love this part. This is quite my favorite. Okay, in this picture, I'm putting two concepts in contrast. On your left, on your screen, you could see a boy, a kid, who got a stage fright, who is, quite panicky. His eyes are bulging out just because he is faced with a large crowd of people. Quite the situation. And on your right, you could see the word content. So, in a nutshell, I'm putting two things in contrast: delivery versus content. Okay, let me pose a question for you. Please put it in the chat box. Delivery or content, which is more important? Delivery or content? You could put as D or C. D or C. Letter D or C. D for delivery and C for content. Could you put it in the chat box? D for delivery and C for content? Which is more important? Is that the delivery or the content? Okay, we got the first answer from Saidova. She says D. Zuhra says D. Indira says C. Okay, Charles says D. Nice. Anna Marie says both D and C. DC. Okay. DC. Anne says DC. Right. Maria says D. Okay. Ramirez says D. Okay. Villanueva says C. Thank you. Wakil Alam says D. AK Adhikari says D. Thank you. The answers keep coming in. Thank you very much for your engagement. Hulkar says D. Thank you. Okay. Now, let's check it out. Who was right and who was wrong? Okay, I believe you're able to see this interesting picture. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, imagine, okay, now I want you to all close your eyes for a second. All of you, like even myself closing my eye, okay? And just try to imagine a super expensive, $1 billion ring embedded with the most precious stone on it. Do you think that is a guarantee that you can win the heart of the girl? If you were to, make a proposal, you got the most expensive ring on your hand and you are to make a proposal to the girl. Do you think that you could win the heart of the girl? Is that guaranteed? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Is that guaranteed? Donovan says no. Okay, any more answers? Ida says no. Okay. Gokis says no. Zuhra says nope. Okay, Hukar says no. Right. Anna Mary says no. Thank you. Dilfusa says no. Right. Indira says no. Okay, so that's the answer. Cora says no. Right, exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the biggest secret of public speaking, that content may not really matter as long as you are good at, communicating your ideas, as long as you're good at delivery, because even the best content cannot guarantee that your presentation will be a success, So if your presentation is going to resonate fully with your audience, there is no guarantee, unfortunately, because it all comes to the delivery. Okay, so we have another task. It's about 20-second task. Imagine you are to win the heart of a girl, the most beautiful girl, let's say Miss World, okay? And you are an ordinary person, you are about to make a proposal to Miss World. I want you to put in the chat box just, a couple of words that could attract the Miss World's attention. Go. Please put a couple of words in the chat box. If you were to make a proposal to Miss World, how would you attract her attention? Just put a couple of words in the chat box. How would you attract her attention? Imagine you're facing a Miss World. She's so pretty. And you have just fallen in love with her, okay? She has stolen your heart. You are so beautiful. Okay. Indira says, no matter how good is your content, when your delivery is not engaging, it's Anil perfect. Yes, Ramirez. Okay. So I love you. Donovan says, I love you to Miss World. Okay. Any more interesting answers? I will not propose. I love my girlfriend. Okay. I love you to the moon, says Filbert. Wakil. Okay. It's the answer to another question. Right. You look gorgeous, says Shang. Perfect. So, it doesn't matter what you're going to say, but try to make sure that what you say is attractive and appealing. And let's keep going. In the second tip, we were talking about delivery over content. And now you might be wondering, if I want to, improve my delivery or, communication skills, are there any quick tips that you could suggest us? Yes. And I'm going to provide you with 4 essential sideline tips on how to improve your delivery, on how to improve your communication skills. First, first things first, you need to be calm. Okay, you need to be, in fact, super calm, without any agitation, anxiety. Now, I'll come a little bit closer to the screen. I'm sure you could see me. You could see my eyes. Do you see any agitation or anxiety in my face? Or do you see calmness and peace? What is your answer? Yes or no? Do you see any agitation, any anxiety in my eyes? Or is it quite the opposite? Yes or no? Oh, Mary says you're so amazing. Thank you. Okay. Right. Okay. So you need to be calm, right? If you want to become a public speaker, the first thing is, if you want to improve, yeah, Hukar says no, right. There's no agitation because I'm, super calm. And this is how you need to project yourself. You need to present yourself in this manner to your audience. If you are super calm, that is the feeling you can transfer onto your audience. So remember that. That's essential for an effective delivery. Another tip is you need to be quite approachable, right? So especially in an offline events, you need to move around a lot. You need to be quite a flexible guy. You need to move around. You need to approach the audience. You need to have a constant eye contact with the people who are looking at you, who are listening to you, not like a statue standing far away from your audience, but try to, approach them, come closer, let them feel you, let them, hear your words from close margins and distance rather than from distance through a kind of a mic. So let them feel your voice and let them feel your presentation. So you need to be quite approachable to improve your delivery. And another tip is you need to be quite charismatic. I'm sure all of you know this word. You need to be quite excited and passionate and exhilarating about what you're doing. So please put it in the chat box if you feel that I was charismatic speaker right from the onset of today's presentation up until now. Yes or no? Now let me turn to the chat box and check out your responses. Do you think I've been a charismatic speaker or a dull and boring speaker? Yes or no? So what is your response? Yes. Yeah, Donovan says yes. Thank you. Okay, Villanueva says yes. Thank you. Shang says big yes. Thank you. Zuhra says big yes. Thank you. The answers keep coming. Of course, yes. Thank you for your support. I love it. I love you all. So let's keep going. Another thing that I want you to, possess is called a wow factor. What do I mean by a wow factor? I'm sure everyone knows those two giant footballers of all time, Messi versus Ronaldo. And they impressed the world with the number of their Ballon d'Ors, okay? An accolade which is given to the best footballer on the planet. And they, piled up a large number of the trophies collectively or also even individually. And if you remember, it was mentioned by the moderator that I am, the most celebrated participant of Model United Nations from Uzbekistan with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 awards to my name in just 6 appearances, which technically means I won the award in each appearance, in each participation. And why am I showing you this? And what is meant by wow factor? Wow factor is not for bragging about. Wow factor is quite essential. It can give you a mental edge over your audience. Imagine you're going to face lots of people, and there are some people who has got a far greater impressive background than yours. You might feel intimidated or even under pressure just because you got nothing to impress your audience. So the wow factor will really help you a great time to impress your audience because your audience will start buying your talks and stories. So wow factor is essential. Now I'll turn to the chat box and I want you to put in the chat box, what is your wow factor? Now, please share your wow factor with the global audience. Perhaps, you have taken lots of certificates, over 1,000. That's a wow factor. Perhaps you are the specialist in your field. That's a wow factor. Perhaps you have written so many books. That's a wow factor. Could you please put it in the chat box? What is your wow factor? Yeah, let me turn to the chat box. I'm constantly keeping an eye. Yeah, okay. Beverly says amazing. Perfect. Okay, what is your wow factor, ladies and gentlemen? Please put it in the chat box. Let's share with the global audience. What is your wow factor? Okay, anything? Winning in their quiz. Perfect, Charles. Good job. Have certificates. Ramirez. Great. Okay, what else? Okay, buy in the TP speaker. Okay, good in math. Perfect, Maria. Wow. Okay, Anne says just wow. Right, I'm unapproachable. Perfect, Carmela. That is a wow factor. Have lots of certificates, say Indira. I've got more than 150 mock certificates from the year 2021. Nico Dan Asmiro. Great job. Amazing. Outstanding teacher is Evelyn P. Waperi. Okay, perfect. Let's keep going. Okay. Now I have some more wow factors that I tried to be, humble today because I'm just scratching the surface. This is an international ESOL Mastery C2 level test results, all with C2 that I took last year in 2021 in Jan. So this is something, as a wow factor with C2. What do you think? And here are some of the posters from my past appearances across a number of international platforms. In fact, to be precise, I have been the first ever speaker from my country on, 10 international platforms. That is incredible, isn't it? So every time they keep calling me to a new and a different global platforms as a keynote speaker. So these are some of the past posters, and this is another wow factor. Okay, now let's quickly recap on how to improve your delivery or communication skills. You need to be quite calm, approachable, charismatic, and you definitely need to have a bit of wow factor. Perhaps after the presentation, you may reflect on those points. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here I pose another question for you to interact. How often do you reflect on your mistakes? Please put it in the chat box. You could use time expressions like often, sometimes, rarely, never, seldom, always, never, something like that. Yeah, I'll just keep an eye on the chat box. Okay, right. So the answers keep coming in a bit slow. Okay, on a daily basis, says Donohan Saidova. Anna Mary says often. Perfect. Zuhra says after each mistake. Okay, Godiva. I hope I'm correct with your pronunciation of the name. Always. Indira, always. Okay. Most of the time, JP Filbert. That's great. Most of the time. Perfect. Okay, now let's move on to the third tip. I didn't ask the question in vain because the third tip is about embracing failures. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the time, we use the word embrace on a positive connotation. We mean that we're going to hug someone or something that we really adore or love, that we're just crazy about. But sometimes, we could also embrace our failures because the failures are the mother of success. Now, let me ask you another question, and please put it in the chat box. Can challenges knock you down? If you are the speaker, if you have to face large crowd of people, and there are some challenges that you are about to face, either technical or some other like social problems, are the challenges going to knock you down? Yes and no. Are the challenges able to knock you down, to shatter your confidence, or just, to knock you down? Okay. Yes. Yeah, the webinar was useful. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, my question is, can challenges knock you down? No, says Josephine. Thank you. After the talk presentation. Right. Okay. Yeah, very useful. Great. Okay, let's keep going. This is one of my favorite. Never. Zuhra says never. Thank you. This is one of my favorite quotes. Okay. Rome was not built in a day. And your public speaking skills, the mastery of public speaking skills, is just like building an entire city from scratch. So this is a kind of a continuous process that you need to, get involved in. This is not an overnight success or journey. In fact, it may take quite a long time, depending on your efforts and passion. So, in a nutshell, you need to have a powerful mentality to embrace the failures because you're not going to impress your audience at once. I had my own failures in the past, but those failures actually encouraged me even greater to go the extra mile, to, climb up even the higher altitudes and face even the larger crowds of people because of those failures. And this is a fragment from one of my all-time favorite Hollywood movies, Gladiator. This is the leading character, Maximus Decimus Meridius. He says, there's a script going on in the movie. Maximus Decimus Meridius in Gladiator is picking up the dirt, smelling the dirt, and it's go time. So, what is meant by go time? This is the time you're going to do it, to give your all, you're going to put your heart and soul into your presentation. You have to, enlighten the audience. You need to encourage the audience, inspire the audience so that they could have lifelong learning takeaways at the end of your presentation. They could remember you forever for what you have done, for what you have contributed. So make sure you're going to give your all. You're going to sweat, sweat, but do your best and make sure that it's going to be phenomenal. And there are some more tips on how to embrace your failures. You can take one step at a time. Like I said, um, going on to face a large crowd of people can be a challenge. There are lots of hurdles and barriers along the way, down the line. So take one step at a time. Talent is key, but impossible is nothing. I have shown you a question at the very onset whether public speaking is a skill or a talent. You remember that question? And, some people argue that's a talent, but others think that's a skill. It is essential to be a bit gifted or talented to become a great orator or eloquent person. But, impossible is nothing. Everyone has got a chance. And after all, you need to do it for pleasure if you want to succeed. So, just like, what I said earlier, you can achieve anything you want, just take one step at a time. Yeah, I was awarded the Best TESOL Teacher Award, mainly because, I was engaging with my Chinese students through a large social club classes. In my social club classes, it was open classes. It was freely accessible to large crowds of people who did not belong to school. I used to have different people from all age. There were some elderly granny at past her 70, and she was sitting in my classes. There could be some toddlers and kids. So I had quite diverse age group in my social clubs, but I tried to attract all those people with my delivery, and for which I think I deservedly got awarded the Best TESOL Teacher Award in the past. And like I said, do it for pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, public speaking is more like a hobby to me. I've shown you that this is not my job, and I never got paid for this. So my full-time job is teaching, but I love on a side by side with the teaching job. I also get engaged with the public speaking, and this is something I love doing. From the bottom of my heart. It's not like compulsion, or it's not something that comes from the superior body. This is me, and this is what I love. And if you love what you do, you'll never work in a day. Just like I'm just loving every second of this presentation because it's been going on super engaging, and with all this content and the build up and the presentation and how it flows, I'm just loving every bit, every second of this entire experience. And I know this is entirely free of charge, but I still love it. And I would love to be called onto even greater stages in the future and contribute even more just because I loved it doing this. Now let's move on to the fourth tip of mine. It is more practical part: moves, steps, and breaths. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have noticed, okay, usually during the webinars, you see the speaker in a sitting position. But today, just because my topic is quite different from all the previous webinar topics, I have to stand up the entire presentation because I want to, feel you how to move around, how to walk around, and how to even practice your breathing. Okay, now let's move on. We'll have a breathing exercise with all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing me loud and clear, so I want you to take a long, deep breath with me together. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. Let's take a long, deep breath. And I want you to hold it for 10 seconds and release. Okay, let's repeat this exercise again. Let's take a long, deep breath. Hold it for 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Release. Okay, why are we doing this? By doing the simplest breathing exercise, we can let, the veins pump lots of oxygen to our brain, and that kind of freshens up us. If you are just attending any boring, dull lecture or session, you can take a long deep breath, or you can let your audience to take a long deep breath and, let them just get freshened up. And this is quite essential to gain composure. When you take a repetitive, long deep breaths, you'll be able to regain your composure, the inner peace as a speaker. And then you will just continue where you left off. Okay, next is moves and steps. Even if it's a virtual event, okay, if it's a virtual presentation, I'm still able to show you some good examples of what it means to walk and talk. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now I'm going to show you a video in which I'm going to walk and talk simultaneously. And after watching the video, I want you to rate the quality of the video, 1 being the least and 5 being the highest. Are you ready? Let me ask, are you ready? Are you ready to watch the video? Are you ready? Put yes or no. Are you ready to watch the video? Are you ready to watch the video? Yes, says Anna Mary. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Are you ready to watch? Okay, watching with you. Perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, at a count of 3, I'm going to play the video. Watch carefully. Pay attention to moves and steps. It's walking and talking at the same time. Enjoy the video. And it's such a great honor to be standing right here in front of the mausoleum of one of the greatest rulers of all time, Amir Timur. About 600 years ago, he said, power is injustice. And about 600 years later, I'm now asking you to join hands in building a historic association of English teachers, which may go down in history as people's most influential association. Today, you're about to make a crucial decision. Are you going to join a historic association of English teachers and be part of the history? Or are you going to remain on the sideline as a spectator and be forgotten by the history? The choice is yours. Each Uzbekistan, for the people, by the people. Okay, how did you like the video? Please put it in the chat box. Please put it in the chat box. 5 being the highest and 1 is being the least. Okay? Yeah, we keep seeing lots of 5s. Right. How did you like the video? 5. Donovan says 5. Okay. Multiple 5s from Zuhra. Garin Comia Ramirez, 5. Maria, 5. Thank you. Perfect. Hulkar says perfect. Thank you. Okay. Farila says 5. Thank you. Right. 5. Thank you very much for your support, ladies and gentlemen. So I have just shown you an example of walking and talking simultaneously, moves and steps. You know, if you want to become a great speaker, make sure you're going to move around a lot and speak simultaneously, because that can be a challenge when you walk and talk simultaneously, just like a reporter. Okay, now over to another exciting task. Ladies and gentlemen, now I want you to please stand up. If you're sitting by your computer, I want you to leave your computer for a while, you know, move a step aside from your computer, from your gadget, and I want you to hold anything you have. Let's say you have a pen and I got a laser pointer. And I want you to walk and talk, you know, just pretend, say something. For example, you know, in that video, I was talking about my newly established association, ITA Uzbekistan. So I had to, you know, walk and talk to impress the audience. And that video actually went quite viral on YouTube across the social platforms. Now I want you to practice a bit. Come on, just, you know, let loose, stand up and, you know, just warm yourself up, hold something and pretend to be talking. You can just, you know, talk anything for about 20 seconds. I just want you to feel the experience. Is that challenging or is that easy? How does it feel speaking or talking while standing as a statue versus speaking while walking? So, how did you like that experience? Walking and talking simultaneously. Walking and talking, right? Okay. Yeah, leave your gadgets for a while, okay? Because this is super engaging presentation with your engagement, of course. So I want you to leave your gadgets for a while, just move, step back and, you know, pretend to be talking with your gadget. It was actually great. Okay, so yeah, focused. Right, okay, yes. We have different answers. Perfect. Okay, challenging. Yes, Marie says it's a bit challenging walking and talking, right? Walking and talking. Perfect. Okay, great. Let's keep going. Over to the last tip of mine in terms of mastering your public speaking skills. Okay, here's a question. Do you expose yourself to new challenges? So it's about exposure. Okay. Do you expose yourself to new challenges? Quickly, yes, no. Ramirez says yes. Although I'm not sure if that's the answer to the question popped up on the screen or to my question. Okay. Do you expose yourself? I do it more the time in class. Okay. Yes. Delbert says yes. Okay. Feel great. Yeah. There is the answer to the previous activity. Okay. Let's keep going. Perfect. You know, today we were talking about mastering public speaking, and there have been lots of examples. And this is probably one of the best examples that you need to have a kind of an all capable mentality and mindset. Imagine you're one of those DC character or Marvel characters. This is my favorite, Superman. So, you know, Superman can fly, Superman can do super things, extraordinary things. So why not become a super speaker, just like, you know, a superhero? Imagine, you know, at the very start, I showed Michelle Obama's quote saying, you know, the people who make the difference in people's lives are actually the most happiest and successful ones. So if you're going to be a super speaker, your name will be always there in the history annals as one of the greatest person to have ever walked on this planet. All right. Exposure. How to improve yourself as a speaker. At first, it might be a challenge, but as a speaker, you need to be more social and communicable. So you need to expose yourself quite often to events, educational events, all kinds of events, to meet and greet people, social gatherings, competitions. It doesn't matter. It's like a quiz competition on IGP or teachers competition or any kind of competition. Just keep exposing yourself. Be part of the society. Be with the people because you are the speaker. You are going to talk to people. You're not going to be a kind of a solitary, isolated speaker who talks to himself or herself. Now I can feel your presence because I'm just keeping an eye, constant eye on the chat box. And I can feel through your responses that you are listening to what I'm talking about. So this gives me an extra incentive and motivation and inspiration to go further and further. And in an offline event, that would be totally different scenery because I could see the people who are sitting, attending. I could have an eye contact, but still, through your active, support and super engaging comments, I could still feel your presence. Although I cannot see you, for real, but I can still feel your presence. Seminars and webinars. I love attending IGP webinars. I am one of those loyal followers of IGP that I try not to miss any single webinar. Although the webinar topic may not be so relevant to what I'm doing or to my interest, but I still keep attending because you could be engaged socially, either virtually or in person. So what you are doing today by following IGP webinar is you are just engaging virtually. It's still quite effective. Conferences. You could attend lots of conferences. Since the outbreak of global pandemic, there have been lots of virtual conferences. I keep attending lots of conferences myself every month. So you can also attend lots of conferences, either virtual or in person. Working groups. You can set up working groups. If you're quite unsure or less confident about your speaking skills, you could just, set up a working group. First, you could start from your family. You could, because they're the people you're most comfortable with. So you could ask your siblings or parents to listen to your talk. Once you're super confident, then you can move on. You can slip out of your comfort zone. You can, now invite some other people, your relatives, your neighbors, or maybe if you're a teacher, you could invite more and more students, your colleagues. This is how you can, keep building your working group and keep gaining more and more confidence. It all comes through the exposure. Okay, now let me ask you a question again. How are you going to expose yourself after today's presentation? I've shown you some examples. Now I want you to answer the following question. How are you going to expose yourself socially? Like, are you going to attend lots of conferences or like workshops or seminars? What are you going to do socially? How are you going to expose yourself? So exposure is quite essential. Like I said, after all, public speaking is all about, engaging with the society, with the people. So you're not going to have a solitary adventure, solitary experience. This is quite like social, especially public speakers, right? So conferences, workshops, perfect. Okay, what else? Be with the people, whether remotely or physically, says Ida Ramirez. Perfect. Okay, what else? Engage your audience. Okay, move a lot, attend to gatherings. Perfect. Okay, what else? Going to be more active above mentioned events. Excellent. Nazokat Holikova. I do attend lots of webinars and workshops, says Shang. Charles says teaching. Be involved. Perfect. That's lovely. EF Max says attend seminars, trainings, workshops, interact with people, says Farila Rezahi. Thank you. Now let's carry on. Ladies and gentlemen, in fact, I am not content and satisfied with all those trainings and conferences that I attend because I need more and I want more because I love attending all those social events because I know those social experience can take me to a next level. So with that in mind, as part of the newly built English Teachers Association in Uzbekistan, I started holding a virtual speaking club under the name of TED Master. So that's a virtual event on Zoom. It was last year on December 12th, from Zero to Hero Leadership Tips. And now the next one is coming up soon on Jan 23 on topic of be positive. So I can reveal a secret. It's partly related to public speaking. It's partly related to communication skills. If you want to become a positive person, you need to be constantly communicating with people. You need to communicate your sorrows, your problems, your hopes and wishes with someone you really like, or with someone who you really would love to spend time with. If you are a social person, you will never be negative and you will always be happy, just because being part of the society and engaging with society actively can make you really a happy person. And these are some more examples of me, trying to hold lots of social events. Like I said earlier, I'm an event organizer and also a speaker, a trainer, um, a motivator. So these are some fragments of those examples. And if you remember, I mentioned Aristotle's 5 principles about ethos, logos, pathos, metaphor, and brevity. And the last one was about brevity. Even 2,000 years ago, Aristotle said you shouldn't make your presentation or speech complicated, because you will have all kinds of people. Some are, more talented or less talented. Some are, quick learners or not so quick learners. So you would have all kind of people coming from different backgrounds with different interests. So bearing all that, differences of your audience in mind, you need to keep your content simple. And this is kind of a principle noted by the US Navy in the 1960s. You could see the variations, like keep it simple, stupid, or keep it simple, short, or keep it simple, silly. But all of them mean the same thing. You need to make sure that your content is simple and, easy to follow. So let me ask you an interesting question. If you feel that my entire presentation was easy to follow, I want you to put in the chat box the word KISS in capital letters, just like you see on the screen. If you feel the entire presentation was easy to follow, please kindly put in the chat box the word KISS. KISS meaning keep it simple, right? So, yeah, we have people from Taiwan, perfect. Philippines, Uzbekistan. KISS, Donovan says KISS, perfect. Okay, KISS, perfect. KISS, Josephine says KISS, thank you. Villanueva says KISS, great. Okay, Michelle says KISS, great. Jovi says KISS. Holida Hasanova says KISS. Right. Elvi Nul Montalvo says KISS. Zuhra says KISS. Yeah, thank you. Perhaps that's going to be one of your biggest takeaways. Nazokat says KISS. Right, KISS. So many kisses. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, over to the recap. Okay, one last step before I go on to finally wrap up my entire presentation. So now let's remember my 5 tips. Okay, apart from what Aristotle told you. So my first tip was audience is king, okay, not the speaker. Delivery over content. Embrace failures. Moves, steps, and breaths. Exposure. Remember, exposure is perhaps the all-inclusive term to include all of those things. Because if you're going to become a public speaker, you need to constantly face people, the society at large. So keep exposing yourself. And now I want you to put it in the chat box very quickly, your takeaways in a couple of words. and I'll be checking out your responses. This is another moment for us to interact, me, the speaker, and you, the participants. Now I'm waiting for your comments. What were your takeaways from today's presentation? Have you learned anything? You can just put it anything, just one thing. Amazing. Just says amazing, right? Rio Mea says amazing. Thank you. Okay. Uh-huh. Kiss, right. Sheng says kiss. Perfect. Okay. So what are your takeaways? Indira says amazing. Okay. I learned a lot, says Charles. Thank you. Motivated. Wow. Vildora Nasimova felt motivated. Perfect. Embrace your failures. Great. I'm glad to hear that someone took it away, because a lot of people, they don't quite like embracing the failures. Confident. 5 tips to be a good speaker. KISS, embrace failure. Useful tips. Right. How to become an effective speaker. Okay. Right. Delivery is more important. Yes, Sherry. A lot of tips, says Zuhra. Okay. Be confident, passionate, have mental toughness, be a good speaker. J.P. Filbert, thank you. Embrace failures, 5 tips. Embrace your failures. Perfect. I love what you've shared. Kiss, thank you. Very informative. Okay, thank you. You can keep writing. Walk and talk is great. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here are some of my professional contacts. I'm very active across social media, namely LinkedIn, where I have over thousands of followers. Facebook, the same, over thousands of followers. And Facebook, I told you earlier that I am a vlogger. I create lots of YouTube videos. So, take a moment to check out my videos and feel free to leave your nicest comments. And finally, if you are so many chatty, so you could follow me on Instagram. I'm also very active there. So I'll try to wrap up my entire presentation with a quote of mine. And this quote is, my own quote. And what is that? Let people fall in love with what you do. I don't need further elaboration and explanation. If you want to become a super motivational public speaker, make sure your job is to let people with what you do. With that in mind, I say thank you and thanks a million to IGP. Thank you very much. It was my pleasure being with you.
Very well said, Sir Feroz Akbarov. Thank you so much for that
My
very
pleasure.
interesting. Yes, sir.
Pleasure is
Very
all mine.
knowledgeable. Okay.
I hope it was interactive because my topic urges me to engage with the audience constantly because
I was
this
listening
this
a
wasn't
lot.
an this wasn't a lecture because I wasn't here to lecture on how to speak well. I was here to show how to speak well, and I hope it was fulfilling, engaging, and most of all
Yes.
productive.
Yes, very engaging indeed, Sir Feroz Akbarov. As you, you are always asking questions, and our very supportive and active participants are always answering all your queries. I mean your questions. Okay, they are very participative. Okay, I think they learned. I myself learned a lot from your very experience, well, very rich experience topic. Okay, what more can I say? You also recap your own your own topic, but let me have some of besides the 5 tips that you gave. Can I have also my recap,
Sure,
sir?
absolutely.
Okay. This is my personal takeaways, and I know our participants also have their own takeaways. Number one,
Yes.
being a public speaker, you have the power to make a difference to people's lives. That's the number one tip that I've got from you. Okay. The also age doesn't matter to become a public speaker. So any level from the previous topic, I mean, a webinar that I have attended. There was a 14-year-old speaker,
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
youngest
I
among the
mentioned that.
speakers. Yeah,
I mentioned that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. And okay, there are some of the requisites that you've mentioned to become a public speaker, such as you should be rich in life experience. You
Exactly.
also
Definitely.
mentioned, yes, mental toughness and passion. Those were your tips. Okay, you also gave five principles by Aristotle, such as ethos, which means character, logos, which means reason, pathos, which means emotion, the metaphor, and the brevity. And you gave your very personal, okay, tips on how to become a public speaker. Very
I'd like to take
engaging,
a moment.
very
Thank you.
energetic.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I'd like to pitch in by saying that those 5 tips, are truly drawn from my public speaking experiences. And as I showed lots of, examples and illustrations across Uzbekistan and across international platforms that, sometimes maybe some of the speakers may refer to certain references, which I didn't show today because these tips have been drawn from my experience. So I didn't have to refer to someone in the reference section. So that's a bit of clarification from my side. Thank you.
Yes, sir. That was a rich life experience that you have there, sir. Those tips are from your rich life experience, as you have mentioned earlier.
Thank
Very
you.
well said, sir. We will get back to you, Sir Feroz, on the question
I'm
and answer
excited.
portion.
I'm
For the
excited about
meantime,
Q&A because
yeah,
I love Q&A as a
yeah.
participant, but today I'm the speaker.
Yeah, you questioned a lot from the webinars that I've attended. You questioned a lot. You
Yes.
gave
So see
questions.
you in a while.
Yeah. Okay. See you later. Yes, sir.
See you later.
Okay, dear participants. Okay, it's time for our quiz competition, and please log on to www.slido.com, and our code is capital IGP quiz. Link is in the comment section below. Okay, we'll be get back to you later. Okay, we would like to acknowledge our quiz competition contestants. They are Sherilyn Callejo, Emily, Frangie, Dennis, Ginto, Gilbert, Lasiste, Junior, Dexter, Jose, Ida Ramirez Martinez, Christine Jose. Okay, we have 60 participants on our quiz competition. Okay, acknowledging Saldova, Donoson, okay, Sir Romel John, Veneranda, Jordan, Ryan, Pakibo, okay, Sherilyn Callejo, Yamaguchi, Jennifer Ann, Copada, Indira Sapeva, okay, Kaifer, Jem, Dylan Rivera, Indira Sapeva, Jovi M. Ariola, Faye Pospos, Rosalinda, Carmela Bijahaen, Alvin, Via, Rinjon Kuwaling, Mariz, Aiza, Mascara, Erlin Akaso, Luna Manalo, Sarova Tahira, I hope I pronounced it correctly, Elias Austria, far. Yeah, okay. We have now 74 participants for our quiz competition. Okay, Madam Cristina Del Rosario, hello. Ryan Pakibo, okay. Veneranda Jordan, okay. I think everyone is now ready. Number one question. Who referred to the fact that success wasn't about how much money one made? Is it First Lady of the United States or former First Lady? Okay, and the correct answer is former First Lady, and 43% of our participants got it correctly. Our second question. Okay, Sir Nico, then Ismiro is on the top one. Our second question, what was meant by ethos according to Aristotle? Is it character or characteristics? Okay, and the correct answer is character. 78% of the participants got it correctly. Okay, Sir Nico is still on the top one. Our third question. KISS means keep it simple silly or keep it simple smart. Okay, the correct answer is keep it simple silly, and 71% of our participants got it correctly. Okay, still Nico. Then Miro is on the top one. Okay, the fourth question. The study of public speaking began about 2,500 years ago in ancient Rome or Athens. Okay, the correct answer is Athens. 43% of our participants got it correctly. Okay, still Sir Nicoden Ismero is on the top one. Okay, the fifth question. Who was nominated 5 times for the Nobel Peace Prize but was not awarded this award? Steve Jobs, Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, the correct answer is Mahatma Gandhi. 69% of our participants got it correctly. Okay, still Nico, then S on the top one. Okay, the sixth question is TED means technology, enlightenment design, or technology entertainment design. And the correct answer is technology, entertainment, design. 30% of the participants got it correctly. Okay, Via is now on the top one. Okay, the seventh question. One of the 5 rhetorical devices that Aristotle identified was bravery or brevity. Okay, brevity is the correct answer. 64% of the participants got it correctly. Okay, Via is on the top one now. Okay, number 8 question. The effective humanistic approach focuses on how high your academic degree is. Is it true or false? And the correct answer is false. 79% of the participants got it correctly. And our 9th question. Age, culture, attention span. Culture and physiology are important when it comes to know about your audience. Is it true or false? Okay, the answer is false. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay, our last question. One of the practical tips suggested by the speaker was that presenters are the kings. Is it true or false? Okay, false is the correct answer. 67% of the participants got it correctly. Okay, our top 5. Okay, Via, Nico, Den Esmiro, Charles Kaiser Vidal, Lamberto Espelatan Jr. Okay, congratulations to our quiz competition winners. Number 5, Rodolfo F. Alemania Jr., Charles Kaiser Vidal. Number 7, Josephine V. Llanes. Number 8, Romel John C. Aquino, Ida Ramirez Martinez. And number 10, Nico Den Ismero. Okay, congratulations, quiz competition winners. Your certificates will be posted on our Facebook page later. Okay. Well, now proceed to our question and answer portion. Dear participants, we suggest to type your question on the comment section below. And Sir Firuz Akbarov will answer all your queries.
Hey, I'm back.
Okay, welcome back again, Sir Bruce Akbaru.
I'm super excited.
Everyone now is excited. Yeah,
As I said, this is
let
my
us
favorite
see.
part. But today I'm not a
Yeah,
questioner. I'm the one who's going to answer
yeah,
the questions.
yeah. I see from the previous webinars that I've attended, you questioned a lot.
Exactly.
You ask questions. Okay, so number one question: if the speaker does not have ethos, what should she do to captivate the audience?
That's a very nice
Sir, first.
question from Donohan Saidova.
Ah,
Okay,
yes, sir. From
Donohan Saidova, right. Okay, that's a critical question actually. As a speaker, as was mentioned 2,000 years ago by Aristotle, number one principle laid down by him was none other than ethos. Like, if you want to become a speaker, a public speaker, you need to have an ethos. That is like the foundational skill. That is like, the mother of all those skills that are essential for a public speaker. But if you don't have a character, you can still go on to become, a speaker, a public speaker, but the chance is the effect of your influence and impact may be limited. That is the the flip side. You still have a chance to go on to impress some limited number of people, but if you have really high ambitions and intentions and goals of becoming, let's say, a bigger, a more celebrated public speaker, then obviously your aim is to impress a larger crowds of people, and for that purpose you need to have ethos or character, a character which is closely aligned and compatible with what you are talking about. Like I provided an example. I have shown you my public speaking background and everything that I brought onto today's presentation. Without those experiences, I wouldn't dare to come here because I know that the audience would be disconnected or would not be even thrilled and excited about what I'm talking about. So ethos is essential, to put it shortly. But without ethos, you can still go on to become a public speaker, but your effect, the extent of your effect, will be limited. I hope that explains your answer. Thank you.
yes,
Could you
very
please
well
unmute
said
yourself?
indeed, Sir Feruz. Yeah, yes, sir. From Mamfarlia Rizaha, to Sir Feruz, how can I overcome my stress while presenting? Any tips and techniques?
Oh, that's another nice question. Thank you, Farila Rizahi. Well, Farila, I'd like to, reflect on your question and in this way. If your concern is becoming an excellent presenter as a student, because I know you're a student in India, right? Because you constantly keep mentioning in the chat box. If your concern is to become an excellent presenter as a student in a university, that could be a different situation. But if you want to become, a great presenter, more like a public speaker, then I would provide you different tips. Well, let's focus on the former one, like you being an excellent presenter as a student. So if you want to become an excellent presenter as a student, then obviously you can, what you can do, the first one is you can try to prepare a lot because most of the times as a student we prepare for exams. And how do we prepare? We just try to emerge and immerse in whatever we do by taking lots of times preparing, doing lots of self-talk to us. So this is one way how you can immerse in your preparation. I'm not just singling out the content, the background information, gathering some materials for your presentation. I'm just talking about the immersive preparation. So this could be a foundation to an excellent presentation as a student. But if you want me to give you an effective tip on how to become, a great public speaker, besides what I already mentioned, then again, referring to age, I assume you might be a young student, so you have a promising future ahead of you. What you could work on for now is your, desire to become a public speaker, because that is like a mother of all those skills that you should possess along your journey of mastering public speaking. Okay, so that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay,
So
our
another
next
question.
question from Jeneline De La Cruz. How do we assess the speaking ability of our learners in an online class?
Okay, this is more relevant to what I do as a full-time teacher, so I'll try to cover that question as well. Although our topic is a bit different. So, if you're referring to your student speaking ability, you know, I'd like to add a bit of clarification. Do you mean language speaking skills, or like in mother tongue, or in English, or just as a whole in general? It may be a challenge to assess your student speaking ability, but since we have lots of platforms like Zoom, which is quite interactive, you could have all of your students in real time and engage them in breakout rooms. Assign them some tasks, and you could move from breakout room to breakout room to monitor what's going on there. If you want to assess your students' speaking ability in an online format. But that can also be challenging because you would only be able to catch the fragment of the interactions that is going on in a specific breakout room. You will not be able to monitor the entire case. So yeah, I think it is a challenge actually to improve communication skills, and it is even more challenging to do it remotely. But like I said, trying to break them down into different groups and assigning them specific tasks may yield some effects, I believe. Thank you.
Okay. Another question from Evelyn P. Waperi. How can we overcome fear of speaking in public?
I love that question. You know why? I have a reason. First of all, let me thank Evelyn P. Vaperi for raising that question. If I tell you something, you wouldn't believe. I was the shyest student back at school. And today, after many years, I'm trying to, encourage people to go on and become a great motivational speaker. And how did I transition from the shyest student to an international public speaker? I had quite an exciting journey in between these roles. Okay, so I myself, drawing from my personal experience, I had the worst stage fright. I used to feature very frequently on a school stage, on a school theater stage, as an actor, as playing some different roles. And always when I came up on a stage, I used to forget my lines. And before my eyes, it was so murky and gloomy, and I couldn't really focus on my lines, and I couldn't see anyone at all for a second, as if I was like I was I lost my sense of sight. So I had that kind of panic facing the public. But gradually, over time, I listened to more and more motivational speakers. And I'd like to thank YouTube platform for availing tons of motivational videos every day. I keep watching some videos, some motivational videos. Especially I love by Denzel Washington. So you need to keep watching lots of videos. This is the easiest. The tips that I'm providing you with today are the easiest one. And the easiest ones are usually the most practical ones. I could give you some, too theoretical and sophisticated answer, but you may not be able to apply it, quickly in a jiffy like that. So I'm just giving you an easy tip which you can, quickly apply, and I hope that can help you. So try to watch lots of motivational speeches and that will, unconsciously and subconsciously will regain your confidence and will just boost it to an extent that you will have a mental switch that says, okay, it's go time, go.
Yes, indeed. It helps a lot. Okay, another question from Sir Romel Jan Aquino. Thus, looking at the mirror while rehearsing speeches, do really improve our public speaking skills?
That's another nice question. Thank you, Romel John Aquino. Well, again, drawing from my experience, I rarely look at the mirror. I almost never look at the mirror. Why? Because I try to visualize my entire speech before I go on to face the crowd or before I go on to do any international webinar. I would like to see the bigger picture of the webinar or the show or the seminar or the workshop and see myself in it and try to, mentally portray the entire event. And once I feel like, okay, I have, seen everything up to the finest details, then I wouldn't need the mirror to look at. Because looking at the mirror, what looking at the mirror can give you is very simple. It can just tell you how you look, if you look good or not so good, and that's it. But some people may tell you, okay, looking at the mirror can boost your confidence. Well, looking at the mirror, you will see yourself, none other than yourself, and I don't think that can boost your confidence. Well, to me, you should be able to be ready with your entire presentation as a big mental picture. And once you can, see that bigger mental picture, you will be able to go and impress anyone. And for that, I don't think you would need looking at the mirror constantly. Thank you. That was a nice question.
Okay, that was another tip, Sir Romel from Sir Perus. Okay, another question from F. Mags. As a speaker, what was the most challenging audience interaction you encountered? How were you able to manage it?
That is perhaps the best question till now. Thank you, EF Max, for raising such an interesting question, a very pertinent, relevant question. This is what happens most of the times with me if I'm going to feature on a less popular platform, which I also do because I'm very easygoing and flexible and approachable. So if any platform approaches me, like 2 days ago, I did with another lesser popular platform a webinar. The webinar went extremely well, but I was not quite pleased with a very little interaction with the audience because they were just a couple of people, like handful of people in the house. And I just checked out of curiosity their YouTube channel. Their videos are not so frequently watched. So, that could be a challenge to a speaker like me who loves interacting a lot with the audience. And today I showcased, to a full extent that a speaker has to constantly engage the audience because, by profession, I'm a teacher and this is what I do. Just yesterday, I gave another masterclass, an offline masterclass to a group of teachers in my city. And I told them that without student engagement or with zero engagement of your audience, you will not be able to accomplish your objectives of the presentation. And this is partly my bigger goal. Whenever I go to any webinar, I have to always remind myself that I'm going to fully engage my audience. And if not, I would be a bit frustrated for sure. Thank you.
Okay, from JP Philbert. Sir Feroz, in what aspect do a public speaker and a teacher have in common? Why? Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you remember, I referred to my own findings. In the build up to this presentation, I did a little research on my own, and I found striking resemblance between uh, a public speaker, a good public speaker, and a good teacher. Like I have, illustrated earlier, the parallels between the audience and the students, the public speaker and the teacher. So in both roles, you have pretty much the same thing to do. The audience is your student, or the student is the audience. and all you need to do is get them, on the same page, get them involved in what you're doing. There was a very nice quote from Benjamin Franklin, which I, showed in my previous webinar on IGP. It says, "Tell me I forget, teach me I remember, and involve me I learn." So it's pretty much about involvement. So this is how those two roles are pretty much have something in common. As a teacher and as a speaker, you need to involve your audience. It's the same thing. Maybe as a teacher, you're teaching present simple grammar or playing some kind of games. As a public speaker, you are talking about some kind of motivational stuff. But in both cases, you're doing pretty much the same thing. You are involving your audience, and this is what they have in common with. Thank you.
Okay, another question from Jacob Belmonte. How would you encourage people who has a fear in public speaking or facing a lot of audience?
Thank you for the question, Jacob. Well, um, I'm just a bit curious if these questions come from personal experience or just random. Like if Jacob has any fear of public speaking, then I could give more personal tip. But if the question is a general one, then I could also provide a general tip. So anyway, I'll try to provide some kind of personal tip. If you personally have any fear of speaking, public speaking, then what you can do is you can try to first do a self-talk. When you do a self-talk to yourself, there is no one in the room. You have the full room at your disposal. So if there is no one in the room, so it's guaranteed that no one is going to spot your mistakes. No one is going to correct your mistakes. And that gives you a kind of a confidence. Okay, my mistakes are not going to be corrected by anyone. So I have the full command in this room, and nobody is going to, comment or correct my mistakes. So I'm like more like a god in this room. And this gives you a confidence. This is just a starting point. And once you are comfortable with doing lots of self-talk, and now this is the moment to face the crowd. But I'm not just referring to a large crowd. You could just face one person at a time. You remember I mentioned, I provide a tip saying, take one step at a time. This is pretty much like that. So just first do a self-talk, and then take one person and have that person as your audience, just one person, your closest, your bosom body, someone you trust, someone you feel comfortable with, and then double, treble, keep adding more people. This is a process. A lot of people might have a stereotypical mindset as if public speaking skills can be mastered overnight. It's not overnight success. It cannot be. And I refer to the fact that Rome, an ancient and successful, prosperous city, was not built in a day or in a night, because it took a long time, centuries, for a city like Rome to achieve what they achieve now. So this is pretty much like building an entire city from scratch. So take it as a journey, as a process, rather than a single attempt, and then you will be approaching in a right way. Thank you.
Okay, take your family as your first audience there. Generous
Perfect.
and Trina. Sir Feroz Akbarov, how can we make emotional connection to the audience we just met?
That's another nice question. Thank you. Jenna Rose, Jeannie Rose. Okay. So I try to, relate to my personal experience again, because I do public speaking very often. Like in a couple of starting from late November in 2021 till now, perhaps I've done more than 10 public speaking sessions, virtually and in person, in different cities, so globally, regionally, nationally, and drawing from all those experiences, most recent experiences, how I could build connection and emotional connection with my audience that I've never known before. One trick is you could start off well with an icebreaker or a warmer that is, involving. engaging, exciting, enticing, encouraging, inspiring. All those positive words. So once you start off well, you already, involuntarily, unknowingly start building an emotional connection with your audience. The audience will be warming up towards you and they will take it as one of their own because they like the pitch of your voice. They like the rhythm, the intonation. They may like your pauses that you make from time to time. They may like your way of accentuating certain words, putting a lot more strength or stress, emphasizing certain words. So there could be different, like a whole set of characteristics in you that the audience may quickly fall for. So this is my answer. Thank you.
Okay. Exaggeration of the words, is that a tip, sir? Okay, from Belly Jane Viseria Panis to Sir Ferus, what are possible ways or strategy to overcome stage fright?
Yeah, I think we had similar questions in the past, but still, I'm going to answer these questions. Um, if you mean a virtual stage, because nowadays we need to, we need to constantly consider that we are also, having virtual audience, like the one I'm doing now. I'm not able to see the people who are joining these, following this webinar from all corners of the globe, but I can still feel their presence through their, interactive engagement in the chat box. So we have two kinds of stage to put things first. Okay, we have the virtual nowadays because of the pandemic, but if you mean the offline stage, you know, it may be tricky. Some people even ask me which mode of presentation is more challenging to you, online or offline. To me, either is comfortable. I wouldn't call it easy, but it's comfortable just because I have a passion for what I do, so it comes easy. If you don't love it, if it is a compulsion, if it is an order for you to do a webinar, then things will not work as you plan or as you want it. So to me, engaging with the offline audience is far more fulfilling and enjoyable than interacting remotely, because remotely still it is very difficult to build a personal touch. But since you are seeing me, you're hearing my words, you can feel me far greater than I can feel you, because still this is more like a one-sided. I can see your words, but you can see me and you can hear me. So this is like a one-sided impression. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, as you have said in your talk, sir, if you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. Okay, another
Yeah,
question from
you will
Anna Marie
overcome the
Joy
stage fright
Alcance.
by loving it. You will overcome the stage fright by just loving it. As long as you love it,
Yeah,
it all comes
yeah,
from the bottom of your heart. If you love it, then
yeah.
definitely you're going to put lots of dedication, commitment, and hard work and just energy to it. If you don't love it, then I can provide you, I can supply you with tons of tips, and all those tips may seem wasteful just because you don't have a passion for what you aspire for. So public speaking is more like having a greatest passion. If you want to become a teacher, maybe you don't have to be passionate as being a public speaker. But if you want to become a public speaker, I have to reiterate the fact that you need to be super passionate, because you are going to empower people to make them excited and passionate and love of what you're talking about. So we are talking about two different kinds of passion. One is less passionate, and the other is fully passionate, the public speaker.
Yes, sir. Very well said. Okay, another question from Ana Marie Joy Alcance Mercado. What was the greatest failure challenge that you have encountered as speaker, and how did you handle or overcome it? Thank you, Sir Feruz.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question, Anna Mary Joy. If you remember, one of my personal tips, aside from what Aristotle mentioned 2,000 years ago, one of my personal tips was to embrace the failures. I learned to embrace lots of failures, and all those failures of the past brought me to who I am today. Without those failures, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm also a human being. I'm not a Superman. I also err, and it is very natural, you know. So nobody's perfect, nobody's ideal. Though we look at some people as ideal or as idols, but still, I had my challenges. And one of my biggest failures was, I remember I told you that at school theater, I used to feature quite often. And I remember there were some horrible, memories from that school theater that I just, flopped as an actor. So it was a failure. And for some time, I got discouraged that I didn't have the guts to go on to go back to the stage. So I also had my fair share of failures. Who taught me? When I started embracing those failures, when I started to look them as silver lining, that something positive was hidden behind those clouds, I started loving those failures. And to me now, I can fail any second, any moment, and I never get demotivated because I know that failures are part of learning. And I can just bring up one of the nicest quote by Einstein. He said, "Anyone who does not try will not fail." So, failure is a part of a successful person because they constantly try. And if you don't try anything, obviously you don't fail. But if you don't fail and if you don't try anything, you will not be successful at the end of your life, at the end of your journey. So that's it.
Okay, I think failure motivated you much, Sir Farouz. Okay, another question from John Paul Corsanes. Criticism is one of the main reasons why not so many people indulge in public speaking. How can we avoid the negative impact of criticism?
Um, that's a quite relevant question, I have to admit. Thank you, John Paul Corsanes. You know, uh, in the earlier answer, I was referring more about the failures. The failures are part of our character building. 2,000 years ago, Aristotle mentioned about character, and he put it on top of his list that ethos has to be there, a character has to be there. But the character doesn't mean, to be uh, to be super strengthful, to be, mentally resilient and physically powerful. It was something else. It was about having the bond between what you're going to do and with what you did in the past. So there has to be a kind of a bond between your present and past. If in your past you faced lots of crowds of people, and if you learned so many lessons from all those mistakes you committed, and if you were able to embrace all those failures of yours, and if you're able to reflect on all those failures, then obviously you will can really overcome any kind of hurdles and barriers that are on your path to mastering public speaking skills. Thank you.
Okay, there you have it. Another question from Ma'am Indira Sapeva. Can we be a great speaker without the ability of oratory, or we should firstly learn this?
That's another question. Well, I have to really commend all those, questioners. They're posing and raising so many excellent questions. Thank you very much. Without you, this session wouldn't be what it was today. So I should commend and appreciate your wholehearted contribution. And back to the question, oratory is, I posed the question: what was it, a gift, a talent, or a skill? Well, to me, oratory, talent is all about having 1% gift from God. Okay, a heavenly gift. It's just 1%. It's just tiny proportion, but that tiny proportion is good enough if you're going to work on it and reach your full potential. You can unlock your hidden dormant potentials with that only tiny 1% proportion. So that's what I mean. That's what I mean if you have that 1% talent of oratory. But if you don't have it at that 1%, it's still possible. Like I answered to one of the previous questions about character, ethos. What if you don't have ethos? Can you still become let's say, a public speaker? Yes, you can. Without a talent, you can still become a public speaker. But on a flip side, the disadvantage, the setback is that you have less chance of motivating, impressing, attracting, engaging, inspiring, and encouraging people. So your efforts and endeavors will be limited. So if you have that talent, and if you have that talent coupled with ethos, the character, then you have the greatest chance of becoming one of those people that I showed in, at the start of the presentation. Your picture would be next to Barack Obama, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and all those motivational speakers of all time. Thank you. Can you give
We
us some
jump
kind of
to thank you.
warm up, please? Warm up.
Warming up, please. Okay.
What kind of warm up
From
activity
Oxmajo.
related to tea? Because when we say warm up, what comes first to mind is teaching. Is that about a teaching or just public speaking?
I
Okay.
think, sir, before you get start with your speaking engagement, that's what I think is the question is.
Okay. Now we have a different question now.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, from Mary Jane Hidalgo, how can we deliver our speech with diverse audience?
Oh, that's another nice question. Thank you, Mary Jane Hidalgo. You remember I showed through the speech bubbles some of the characteristics, some of the snippets of information that you could predict or figure before you go on to face the audience, and one of which was culture. If you're going to face, for example, I was a teacher in China. Every time I face my Chinese students, at the onset of my teaching career in China, I wasn't aware of cultural difference. I took them just as a student. Okay, I'm in China and I'm going to teach English, and these are just my students, just like my students in Uzbekistan. I took them just like my students in Uzbekistan. But that was the crux of my mistake. That was a wrong approach, because what I forgot, what just slipped out of my mind, was the cultural difference. So the cultural difference of your audience will speak for itself and can make a difference. Your show or presentation or session may go well with certain people, with certain audience, just because they have certain cultural qualities and characteristics. Some nations may be too energetic and exhilarating and exciting, but some nations may be quite the opposite. So we have all kinds of people across the globe. So there are about 8 billion people, and with more than 200 countries, and all the country has its cultural peculiarities, and we need to really consider those differences, because those subtleties, those tiny differences, will definitely have their say during your presentation. If you are about to neglect or disregard the cultural aspect, you're not going to succeed for sure. Like coming to IGP, I know who my audience is because I'm one of the followers. I always keep an eye on the chat box. I see where the people come from. A lot of people come from the Philippines. A lot of people come from India, from Bangladesh. Nowadays, there are a lot of people from Central Asia, like Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and some other countries. So I am familiar with those people because I traveled to the Philippines in the past. I was in Malaysia. I was in Singapore. I was in India. So I was in all those countries. So I'm familiar with the culture of those countries, and that helps me a lot. Thank you.
Wow, there you go. Very. Another question from Merjo Sarmiento. How to avoid unnecessary words such as okay, while presenting, especially when your nervousness attacks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. The name is very difficult for me to pronounce, so I'll put it as Sarmiento. Okay, thank you for the question, Sarmiento. Those words are called fillers, and fillers are part of the language, like right, okay, yeah, fillers and coolers and warmers. So what you can do is, if you are uncomfortable or unsure about the use of fillers, if it feels like to you that as if you're using too many fillers, you're just overusing them. Okay, what you can do is perhaps you can try to reduce. You can try to focus less on fluency, because this problem happens with people who are willing to speak fast. And when they speak fast, you can say things at the lightning speed, altogether, like the entire paragraph in just one breath. There are some people who love speaking fast, but as a speaker, you need to be able to to control that. From time to time, you can just, speed up, and then you can slow it down. And for that, you don't have to use too many fillers in between. So I'm sure you might be nervous and agitated and freak out if something doesn't go well. For example, let me just spill the bean. Right before this session, you know what happened? Just about 2 minutes left to the start of the show, and there was a power cut at my home. At my home. Now you see me so energetic and exhilarating and excited and euphoric throughout the entire session. Even during the Q&A session for about half an hour, I am still super energetic. That was a mental attack. That was a mental challenge on me. But I wasn't knocked down. Having power cut just 2 minutes prior to the session, and you start having all the panic settle in you, but I didn't let the panic settle in me. I was quite optimistic, and in the next 2 minutes I had the power back and the internet was up and running, so I was back in show.
Yes. Yes, sir. Thank you. From Maria Teresa Yambao. Hello, sir. What can you suggest to those aspiring speakers but who are not comfortable with their looks or appearance?
I like this question. I have to commend for raising this quite critical question. Thank you, Maria Teresa Yamba. I have seen on YouTube some speakers who suffer from various kind of disabilities. I have seen a motivational speaker, a young kid on a wheelchair, who is not as appealing or a good-looking, let's say, a Hollywood actor or someone who you might look up to, or like a A-list celebrity. So you still have a great chance of becoming a master public speaker with with your looks, with your existing looks, with the way how you look. You don't really need, a super appealing look or appearance to attract the audience. Of course, if you have that, that is just a natural asset. That is just a bonus. Yeah, I take it as a bonus because, like yesterday, I was doing a workshop with the teachers in my city. It was an offline event, and someone from the participants commented that if you want to become like a modern English teacher or a speaker, you need to be well dressed and good looking. Because I was well dressed for that event, just like I'm today. So, and I took it as a compliment, and I reflected. I said, yes, that's true, but that is just a bonus. You shouldn't focus far too much on how you look, because your delivery skills are way more important than how you look. Thank you. You still have a chance.
Okay, from Maria Agustin. What is the difference or common between a public speaker and a preacher?
Yeah, that's another nice question. I'm a linguist by profession. So what I basically do is I compare the definitions of the terms. For example, what is the difference between skill, capability, or ability? Or for example, this one, what's the difference between public speaker and a preacher? Preacher is someone who works at the church, usually, right? And a speaker, public speaker, is someone who may not be in the church, but the preachers can also be a motivational speaker based on their delivery skills, how well they are equipped with communication skills. If they are armed to their teeth with the words and the eloquence and all those communicational traits, they can be one of those. But to me, we have another question now, right? I was focusing on the other question, right? The difference between the public speaker and the preacher. Okay, to me, I admire more of public speakers, because public speakers are the ones who talk about the worldly stuff, but the preachers may be so much stuck in their world of preaching from religious point of view. So That's why I may not be so much, in tune with what the preachers say, because the preachers will always preach from, one aspect of our life, which is religion. But our life has so many components, and religion is just one of them. So I look up to the motivational speakers because they bring up personal examples. One is economist, the other is engineer, IT specialist, a cab driver, a teacher, or just, anyone, you name it. So I admire more of the public speakers than the preachers. Thank you.
We have so many questions to accommodate, Sir Farouz,
Yes, and I'm
because your
ready to
topic is
answer all of
very
them.
nice. Okay, another from Eugene. Yeah, from Eugene de Fiesta. What are the preparations you must all to do in order to become an effective public speaker?
Yeah, earlier I was referring to the fact, like, I remember I answered Farila Rezahi's question as a presenter, as a student, right? And then I said that you need to immerse in preparation. And this question is partly relatable to that. And this asks about uh, the kinds of preparations that we can, indulge in to hone our communication skills or public speaking skills. Well, my way of preparation is I often, do a lot of CPD, a continuous professional development. And my way of CPD is I try to compare the resources. First of all, if I'm going to, provide any content to my audience, I'd like to verify and double check and confirm that the content is credible and verified and accurate and true, so that there wouldn't be any miscommunication or a conflict between me and the audience if there is like inaccurate piece of information. This is what I can prepare for. And further on, delivery wise speaking, I always try to give myself a bit of rest before I'm going to face any kind of show. Like today, I still have my energy levels up to the uh, up to the brim. It's full. I have my battery is fully charged, just because I have had a nice rest before this presentation. So I knew I was going to, span and exhaust myself throughout the presentation, but I don't feel like exhausted. This is quite the opposite. Remember, I told you, if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. I have been loving every single moment of this presentation up till now. It's been almost like 2.5 hours, and I'm still ready to go for another 2.5 hours.
Yes, this webinar is very engaging, sir. Okay. Another question from Julie Millet. How can we avoid mental block during public speaking?
Yeah, that does happen. There are, some moments when even the experienced speakers may, are likely to forget the lines of their speech, or they may not be able to refer to certain part of the seminar, the workshop, or the session. So my best tip is you need to fully immerse yourself. For example, now I have been with you, with all like IGP team and IGP followers for the last 2.5 hours. I have mentally switched off myself, disconnected from the rest of the world. I have been with you, so I'm able to answer all of your questions, and I was able to engage with you fully. Just because I forgot, I shut the doors of the outer world for the next 3 hours to be with you. So when you are fully immersed, you will not have any of those mental blocks, because if you are partially have your mind somewhere floating outside your session, that's when they're going to be mental blocks and disturbances and distractions. So make sure you're going to fully commit yourself to your session, and then you will be with the audience for as long as you can last. And luckily I was able to last for 2.5 hours. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, to be exact, that was 2 hours and 32 minutes, Sir Ferus. There you go. Thank you so much for that very interesting,
Thank you.
wonderful, okay, engaging topic that you have, sir, with us. Thank you for your valuable time, Sir Ferus. And I know this is not the last time that we will be having you here as our speaker in IGP. Again, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Take care, sir. See you again.
See you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. Dear participants, okay, I know that we are all, okay, full of information from what we have heard from Sir Ferus. Okay, now we have our uh, webinar series. Okay, another free webinar series. Webinar series 7. Part 1 will be on January 9. That was tomorrow with the topic Research, a Comprehensive Approach. Okay, we have the two speakers from the Philippines. I think this is a evening session. Okay. This is part 2 will be on January 13th, part 3 will be on January 16th, part 4 will be on January 20, part 5 will be on January 21, part 6 will be on January 23, part 7 will be on January 24. This is the number 316 free webinar. Okay, do we have another announcements? Okay. Okay, certificates. Today's certification process, January 8th. Topic is Mastery in Public Speaking. Our code for tonight's webinar is capital IGP 8474. Without code, no one is eligible for certificates. With code, you can claim your certificates anytime. Without an account on our website, you can visit, but you can't do anything functionally. So what are you waiting for, dear participants? Our new participants there out there, you can create account, and our website is now okay after so many days. Okay, please take note or take a screenshot of the code for tonight. Again, that is capital IGP 8474. Our website, www.eduigp.com, is now working. With that, again, dear participants, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for attending today's session. Hopefully, you learned something new that you will use in your career and in your life. Please leave a review and commentation on our Facebook, on our page at www.eduigp.com if you learned something or we help you a little bit. Don't forget to collect your certificates. Please spread the information with your friends and community so they too can have the learnings that we are having here at IGP Free Webinars. We hope to see you all again in the next webinar. Stay happy, stay safe, stay healthy. To God be all the glory. Good night. Bye-bye, everyone.